That sign. That's the sign of a good time.
Hey everybody, Stick here. This is part 2 of my summertime ride on my 2005 Yamaha FZ6. The FZ6 is a 600cc 4-cylinder transverse inline water-cooled dual overhead cam engine. It puts out 98 horsepower and 63.1 newton meters of torque. It's fuel injected. It has a wet clutch and a 6-speed transmission. It is the quintessential motorcycle.
So I brought the bike up to the mechanics to get inspected. The kid working behind the counter, he said, I see your FZ6 out front. I have the same one. Yeah, you do. And he just had a smile on his face. He knew exactly what my joy was. His was a 2004, same bike though, it doesn't matter. His was a 2004. Mine's a 2005. The only difference between his and mine is I got the black rims, which I prefer. And after talking to him, it sounds like he prefers them too. But it really was a sweet spot. And he bought it for $1,000. 1,000 American dollars. It had 3,000 miles on it. I bought my bike new just before I moved to England, about a year before I moved to England, and it's got 7,200 miles on it. This thing is a baby, but it is such a joy to ride. I had a comment on my on one of my new Triumph videos last night, and the guy really likes the T100, but he also likes the SV650, and he said, with my money, what would I buy? And after I had spent the time puttering around town on the FZ6, I said, save your money, and unless you live in London, find a used FZ6 and buy it for pennies and ride it till it dies. He wrote back and said, there's a few for sale in his area. Woo! He should buy it. I'm pretty sure this road comes right out by the racetrack and goes on the old race course. Get out of my lane. On his phone. Yeah, even though you can do some really nice stuff on these roads, you gotta watch out for the idiots and the roadkill possum. You can tell when someone misjudged and you see those skid marks that go off into nowhere, like there. What a great road. Skylar 18, Skylar 12 to Skylar 18. There's some Americana for you. Rusted silo and a red barn and a big old John Deere tractor out front. I know the American flag is red, white, and blue, but it really should be rusty white, barn orange, and John Deere green. Speaking of a Rustang, there's a Rustang, yeah! You do forget how fast you go on this thing. Watkins Glen. 414, yep, this goes right to the racetrack. Thought that was a cop, but that was a cop auction car with no headlight or grill. County Road 16, maybe let's go down, we'll go down to the other side of the lake. Oh! Haha! Wrong side of the road, Dick! That's where you make the mistake. When people ask me what it's like to ride on different sides of the roads in the two places that I spend time, the two countries that I spend time, and I really don't have a problem all that much with it. This is the Lake Valley here. You can see right there where that dark cloud is. And probably some rain. That's where the lake is. So it's a glacially cut lake, but beautiful Lake Valley here. All the way down, all the way up, 70 odd miles, 75 miles up. But that's, every now and then you get a glimpse of the beauty of this area. And I'm gonna go right towards that cloud. And I wanna come up on the east side of the lake because there's a nice road over there. So this hill actually is a pretty good indicator of the elevation drop you get from being up on this hill where the racetrack is down to the lake. The problem is that this road, which has a lot of trucking traffic on it to get between these little villages, is extremely steep, and it goes right down into the village. And a couple of times you had some trucks that lost their brakes and crashed into a house or two. So they really have a lot of warning signs about using low gears. It's a mile-long road. If your brakes or your transmission give out in your truck, you're picking up some serious speed. There's the lake. There's a KLR, I think. That little smokestack, I don't know if you can see it, that brick smokestack coming up right in front of that lake, that silhouette we see. There you can see how the lake is right at the town is right at the foot of the lake, and it goes way off to the horizon. Anyway, that smokestack is the salt plant. Underneath these glacially formed lakes are all these salt deposits, and so there's salt caverns that go miles and miles and miles under the town. So, oh yeah, the houses were taken out by that truck and they put a Pizza Hut there, so I guess it wouldn't be too bad if a truck lost control. When they were closed, of course. There's the lake. Now, I didn't grow up here, but I fell in love with a girl who did. So this is a destination for us, and we actually ended up buying a small farm up on the hill out over the Lake Valley. And these roads are lovely, and the hiking in these mountains are lovely. Oh, well, we're stopped. I'll show you the seat height on this bike. Seat height is there. I'm flat on my feet. There's a little bit of a bend in my knee on both sides. So seat height is great. It seems taller when you're trying to move it around the garage or the drive because of this high sculptural tank here. The gas is held up here, but like the Ducati where the gas is under the seat, or some of it is under the seat, the battery and the airbox are under the tank. Like I said, the stock bar is kind of, there's a high riser, but the bars kind of, they drop down a little bit, so you give it a bit sportier position. Mid controls. If I was going to do another tour on this, I would probably consider raising the getting a more flatter handlebar, so I'm not leaned forward as much. But I've toured on this for thousands of miles over short periods of time, and I don't get too uncomfortable on my wrists. And the seat's really comfy. It's a stock seat, but it's really comfy. The fairing is just enough too. The wind goes right over my head, so this fairing's a good height. They do bigger fairings, and some people put those little additions on to kick the wind up, but I've never needed to do anything other than stock on this. I wonder if I sat up higher. No, if I sit up higher, the wind still kicked the same place, so I could probably afford to do just the handlebars, a slight rise in the handlebars without having to change the windshield. This bike is stock from the day I bought it, except for some luggage bars. There's a GV top box mount at the back behind the passenger seat, and really low profile soft bag bars that are almost invisible when you don't have the bags on them. But look at this monster. It's a trike towing a trailer. Why? Why, dude? Take the car. Up on the left here, there's going to be a national forest. So it bounces between state forests and national forests. And you can just feel the presence of the lake down in the valley. And every now and then you get a glimpse. And it's just, there's something about being near a big body of water that just settles the soul. So if I squeeze my clutch hand a little, I'm getting a bit of vibration at 80 miles an hour, 7,000 RPM. Until then, I haven't noticed any vibration. There's no vibration in my foot pegs, there's no vibration in my throttle hand, and the wind is negligible. It's so negligible I didn't know I was going 80 miles an hour. Anyway, saying this bike is completely stock. It's got those stock bin yellow teardrop indicators that were dated when it was on this bike, and I was just up at the shop the other day looking at the new Yamahas for the American market, and they have the same indicators. It's just insane that they're still using, this bike is 15 years old. Anyway, they're still using these stupid stock indicators. I looked at, every now and then I looked at changing something on this bike, but the amount of time I spend on the bike, I don't want, not on the bike, with the bike, the amount of time I spend with the bike, I don't want to spend any time tinkering. I just want to ride it, and it's always done what I've needed it to do. It has a hazard button that has hazards, which at the time when I got it, I thought was really cutting edge and nifty. It still is on some bikes you don't get hazards. The horn is proper. That's a proper horn. I think I might find an old FZ6 horn and put it on a couple of the wimpy horns I have on the bikes in England. Cable clutch, dual disc on the front, Nissan's hydraulic. And at the time I really liked the fact that this was closed and sealed and not one of those shot glass things. It's got dual headlights, but only one running light for the low beams, and then when you turn on the high beams the other one comes up, and when you get pulled over by the cops at night, it's usually because they think you have a headlight out, and you don't, and you have to explain to them that that's the European standard. So a lot of people put a running light on the high beam side. I haven't done that. I think I might turn around in a bit. No, I'm gonna go down that road. Whoa, no ABS. Haha, no ABS. I left some tire. The turn came up on me quick, and I forgot I have no ABS. And there's some loose shit on this, so let's be enthusiastic but cautious. That was a blast from the past to skid that rear wheel. Couple of dirt bikes over there. There we go. Let's see what we can do on this puppy. The ton at 8,200 RPM in 5th gear. You still have to 14,000 RPM. So this thing cooks with gas, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 15-year-old motorcycle, and it rides, never ridden differently. It rides just like it did when it was new. Maybe even better. It's just a dream to own. That straightaway to the horizon up there, you lose the paved road. Not an adventure bike, so I'm not gonna go down that road. I'll stick to the pavement on this puppy. Getting some bugs. Getting some bugs on the visor. Hopefully it's not on the camera. Yeah, I'm quiet, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm just loving this ride. Oh God, I gotta get in front of this motorhome. Ooh, there's a line of traffic behind that motorhome coming up behind me now. Forgot how easily this thing revs out though. Whee! 4 cylinders. Not a cop? You a cop? Nope. I mean, this thing it's a sport tourer, so you can tour and tour and tour on this thing, and then when you get to those little twisties or those sweepers, you just have that performance that you want. I really am a big fan of the sport touring class of motorcycles. The adventure bike trend has kind of co-opted the sport tourer, but really the essence is alive in the sport tourer. And the less expensive adventure bikes are the ones that come with the mag wheels and not the long travel suspension, and it doesn't have the spoked wheels. And when you have that bike, that configuration is essentially a sport tourer. You're sitting a bit more upright, but have a kind of adventure style sport tourer. And I can't herald the joy of motorcycling enough in the sport tourer class of bikes. You really get the best of most worlds of motorcycling, because you want to be able to go out for a long time. You don't want to get tired and fatigued, but you don't want to be riding a lazy boy or a couch. So when you come to the turns, you're just kind of like, I'll go out on my cruiser later, which I love. My wife Fanny loves the cruiser. But it's not this, it's not this. And you can see I was so excited to get this. I just got it mechanically sound. Didn't even wash it. It just needed to be on it. These car mirrors though are just so pathetic. They're so ugly. It's like off a 1992 Honda Civic. It's just, we need a mirror. Let's put a mirror on here. It's not even one of those mirrors that seem closer than they appear, like the object in the mirror it's just mirror. And you got these 1989 Batman cowl rubbers around the mirror stalks. It's just luckily the rubber hasn't dried out, because there's just a big bunch of holes underneath there in the fairing where the mirror plugs in, or where the shroud plugs in. What's this guy doing? Come on, man, get out of your fucking passengers. You're eating with a fork. This guy's eating with a fork. Oh, that looks like a good... You're wearing a wife beater. And it's not even a white wife beater because it's so fucking dirty. You're wearing a brown wife beater, riding a shitty pickup truck, eating with a fork with your pinky out. While you're driving! My wife Fanny told me about an Italian exchange student that she went to school with in high school. He came here, and he was, as most Europeans are, both enamored and disgusted by Americans. And the thing that disgusted him was the eating habits. He said, you eat while watching TV, you eat while walking, you eat while waiting in line to pay for what you're eating. And then his biggest sense of exasperation came from, you eat when you're driving, you eat when you're driving. And when she related this story to me, I, from that moment forward, refused to eat while I'm driving. Eating is an experience that should be alone in itself. It should be without distraction. Cooking and eating should be a singular activity. And that fucker in the red truck, ugh, he insults my sensibilities. I think what I'll do is I'll bring this back to the stable, and then I will get the cruiser out. but it has been a very pleasurable ride. And the rain has held off, thank you heavens. You see, this is a match made in heaven. This is a relationship that's meant to be. You don't have to get angry. No ABS, Dick. Don't follow so close, there's no ABS. Okay. This soft seat is starting to wear on my glutes as well, so I think it is time to take a break. I think Corbin makes a touring seat for this bike, or did in the past. I don't know if they still produce it. You can probably find one used somewhere, lightly used. Like, you can find these bikes lightly used. So there might be a touring seat available for this. Usually when I start to feel a bit tired or fatigued, I've been on the bike for a couple of hours, so I should get a glass of water and maybe a bit of a snack. You will get fatigued. There is a bit of fatigue starting to creep in. You know, it's funny. Although I do ride a left-hand drive car, or one of my cars is a left-hand drive car in England, I'm always used to looking in the side view mirror on the right side and seeing what the driver's up to, whether they're on their phone or whether they're distracted by something, putting their makeup on, eating with a fork. And now I find myself doing that here. I'm looking in the right side of the driver's seat, and almost every single person is looking down at their phone, but that's the passenger. So I do have to get back into the habit of checking the left side mirror to see what the driver's up to, see if they see me or if they're aware. But yeah, I bought this bike after I took the Cruiser that I'll do another video on. And I've mentioned it before, but took the Cruiser on the Blue Ridge Parkway down in Virginia, looking to do some sweeping turns and some really lovely riding. And the bike was not built for that. It was not built for sweepy turns. So I bought this bike right after coming back from that trip and being disappointed with how the Cruiser handled itself. You gonna wave? There you go. Thank you, Harley guy. We're all vulnerable. We're all on two wheels. I'll stop if you have a problem. So look, I mean, I can't filter in New York. I'm not going to. But I'm in stop and go traffic. I'm in second gear, 2,000 RPM, which is, there is not a 1 on that rev counter. There's not a 1,000 RPM. It goes from 2 to 0. It's a very close span from 2 to 0. I'm in second gear. I'm going 2,000 RPM, 2,200 RPM. I'm going 11 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. And I'm not jittery. It's a 4-cylinder. It has 14,000 RPM redline. It's not jittery. I'm just rolling slowly on the clutch. I'm able to go at these slow speeds. I'm able to keep the balance is lovely. I'm able to keep a really straight tack. And I have a lot of range in this second gear before I feel like I need to shift. So it's a lovely bike just puttering along.
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.